Ladies and gents, welcome to UX, and this is America won the war, Iran war, but the deadliest mission hasn't even begun. Mine clearing? Is it retrieving uranium? I don't know. This was Max Afterburner, obviously. This is after the news broke out. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, look, I saw that TLDR channel, which is people telling me is very left-wing biased. I kind of knew that, but I was just trying to get the gist of it. Like, things that things that are being claimed out there. To me, it feels like it's half the news. Certain things like, yeah, US is just going to give Iran a lot of money. It's like, I don't know. Maybe there's something behind that than just giving them the money. US is not going to have some enforcement in place. It's like, again, no, if that's the case, what was the point of this war? I don't know, man. Because if that happens, like, I don't know what to think after that. That basically makes this war meaningless. If they don't put enforcement, like, yeah, you can't enrich any uranium. You want civilian grade? Yeah, ask USA. It has to be something like that. Because last time Obama did the similar things, like, you pinky promise you're not going to enrich it. Yeah, they didn't listen. So this time it has to be enforcement element there. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Let's do this one.
It's June 15th, 2026, 107 days from the opening strikes to now a signed peace deal memo. And the Iran war is over. The deal is signed. The Strait of Hormuz is opening as we speak. And right now, somewhere over the Persian Gulf, a long-winged autonomous drone with no pilot and no crew is cutting grid patterns across 21 miles of ocean, looking for something that Iran buried down there that could blow a super tanker in half. Nobody in the mainstream media is talking about this mission, but I'm going to walk you through it platform by platform, because what the US military has to do between now and when the massive amount of oil tankers go through the northern part of the Strait of Hormuz is arguably more dangerous, more technically complex, and more consequential than anything that happened during the kinetic phase of the war. Those mines by Iran, likely 1,000 to 3,000 of them buried on the seabed itself, and they can pop up and be the worst night.
I thought the deal said Iran is going to remove the mines. Do they even know where the mines are? Because that's, oh my God.
Nightmare of a supertanker, but ships are flowing through the Strait of Hormuz in a way that they haven't in months. President Trump just posted this on Truth Social. He said the ships are starting to move, many loaded up with oil, out of the Strait of Hormuz. They're going along the southern highway, which is totally safe, secure, and pristine. There are other areas of travel also, President Donald J. Trump. So we're seeing that right now, Iran's nuclear weapon has gone bye-bye. And I want to take my hat off to all the U.S. service members that made this happen, that gave the leverage to the administration to get a historic deal done with Iran. 13 service members from the U.S. perished. They'll never be forgotten. And all those that have received injuries throughout this conflict, your sacrifice matters. And now, thanks to the leverage from the U.S. military, we have a historic opportunity to get the uranium out of Iran or dilute it so it's not able to be used in a nuclear weapon, and keeping Iran from being able to use the Strait of Hormuz as their other nuclear weapon, as they like to say. But we also got to make sure that we get General Salami's John Hancock on this peace memo to make sure it's official. And just remember aspects of the corporate media, those corporate media sources that weren't on the side of the U.S. military to actually get this done. They were on the wrong side of history, and all of us watching this, the reasons why we had these conversations basically every day about Operation Epic Fury was because those corporate media sources that weren't on the side of the U.S. military, that didn't.
History doesn't usually say right and wrong. I don't think history is going to remember them as wrong or something. History is just going to remember them as opinions. Even though maybe I should say more neutral, but sometimes even I'm like, isn't this bit like used as a weapon? Because the way you represent news matters, especially in time of war that can hurt your own country. And it's not about telling the truth. You should always tell the truth. But nowadays, news channel doesn't just report. They mold their opinion. They say out loud, like, this is what I think, and they just give out lectures. like, oh, this is just what I think, and then just walk away from that. Like, even if I'm wrong, this is what I think. But in the process of it, they tell millions of people and just mislead them at a certain level. So, yeah, you hate Trump. Say, like, yeah, I don't like what Trump is doing, but don't question effort of U.S. military, because that's not Trump. That's U.S. military. It's based on history, years of experience, and a doctrine that was, like, molded by a lot of experienced people. US military is most powerful military on the planet and most experienced on the planet. There's every most you can apply to that. They're not gonna fumble, right? Just saying, oh, look at that. Iran is saying that they just shot down, like a ship. It must be true. Oh, why are you believing Iran rather than your own US military? Because of Trump? That's just weird to me.
Want the U.S. to win, basically, that became mouthpieces of the IRGC. Just remember that. Just remember that for when they try to take credit on reporting on Operation Epic Fury. Just remember the side of history that they were on, and think about just tuning in to a podcaster, to this channel, or someone else's that you trust, instead of those mainstream media outlets that didn't have the back of the U.S. military and basically didn't want the U.S. to win. That will never be forgotten as well. But remember, before a single tanker transits that northern area where Iran basically mined it with thousands of sea mines, the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Air Force has to send two of the most advanced autonomous vehicles ever built into that minefield and destroy every single one of those mines. Multiple systems above the water and multiple systems below the water, and together they cover a stack that no single platform on Earth can handle alone. So we're going to review that entire dangerous mission in this video, and then stay 3/4 of the way through the video for the global roundup section. We're going to talk about Russia's latest desperate move, and then pop over to Pepperbox. If you guys want to see videos that you can't find here, reactions to things that you can't find here, go over to Pepperbox. I'm doing flying on Pepperbox, where I'm flying missions and digital combat simulator, also other videos that just can't be posted here. I'll put a link in the description for that. So what's followed over the past 3.5 months, 107 days of the U.S. Navy blockading Iranian ports, U.S. Air Force, Marines, Army striking Iran in a way that's never happened before, finally putting this regime on notice.
Is that really Tomahawk? I get it, like Tomahawk does have an engine, it does have a heat and somewhat of a, like you would see somewhat of a heat and fire, but this doesn't feel like a stealth cruise missile. So why does it look, is this really Tomahawk? I feel like this must be some other type of like missiles, I don't know, like shot from F-15 or something. I don't know, man.
Finally putting these cartel bosses that are the IRGC in a position where they realize they have to make a deal with Uncle Sam or bad things are going to happen. There's finally an administration with a backbone that's showing Iran that they have to come to the table in a much more sizable way than they have with administrations of the past, where they basically just tapped all those administrations along. They've taken billions of dollars in cash, and they've built ballistic missile stockpiles, one-way attack drone stockpiles, and they were close to having their very own nuclear weapon. Remember, the U.S. naval blockade has redirected 140 plus ships, disabling multiple of those that didn't cooperate, and that pressure right there teamed up with the U.S. Air Force's strikes, additionally the strikes that have happened over the last week, to show Iran they have one way out of this. And this is how the art of the deal has played out. The IRGC lost its command structure, its nuclear scientists, its air defense networks, and their crown jewel, Fordo, Natanz, Isfahan, enrichment facilities, all rubble. But not only the nuclear facilities, just recently that bunker buster bomb dropped by F-15E Strike Eagles likely striking down the ballistic missile stockpiles of Iran, and in no uncertain terms,
Sparkle. Obviously those are munitions going off, but look at that.
Showing Iran that that's just going to keep happening day by day by day. And in my opinion, that's why Uncle Sam was able to bring them to the table as fast as we've seen happen. 107 days in a massive conflict like this. This is the big kahuna. This is the big conflict. I studied it for over a decade, along with other conflicts, Taiwan Straits, Russia conflicts, North Korea. This one was a massive operation that was said could take over 2 years. and now we're seeing it playing out in 107 days. Now, does this mean it's fully over forever? I mean, not necessarily, but right now we have a massive opportunity to get a deal with a regime that is looking weaker and weaker and weaker. So does this set up Iran for some sort of a transition at some point? Could there be a transition years down the road where a civil war breaks out and the free people of Iran are actually able to have a country? Well, the mullahs have been put on full notice at this point, and they basically mullah'd around and found out. The formal signing for this agreement is set to be June 19th on Friday in Geneva, Switzerland.
This is like beating a guy into nearly a coma and saying, you put on notice. Yeah, I think the notice came much earlier than that. Yeah, this operation wasn't just something. Major top leaders were deleted. This is like permanent scar level of operation for Iran. A lot of people got deleted, including the supreme leader, who just now changed. Do they have any experienced leader left now? What are they going to do? How is IRGC going to function? Like, whoever's left is going to run it? I don't know, man.
These exact things that we're talking about right now, how leverage works to bring Iran to the table, what's going on behind the scenes to actually make this operation successful. I talk about all those strategies and how you can actually apply them to your own personal and professional life so you can apply them to whatever it is you're trying to win at, whether that's business, whether that's something in your personal life. At the end of the day, it comes down to knowing what operations are going on behind the scenes. Because remember, there's 40 chess operations happening all the time on the battlefield and within ourselves as we try to do whatever it is that we're trying to win at. So I wanted to bring you a book that helped you, that gave you a framework that I've learned from being on actual battlefields, from becoming a Thunderbird pilot and doing everything I could to make it through that rigorous training season and be successful. So I put all of those different lessons that I've learned in this book, and I think it's one that'll give you a lot of value and help you with whatever it is that you're up to. So pop to the link in the description. It's mabbook.com. Had to give you another acronym there, but you can go there and you can pre-order the book. Thanks so much for supporting. Really appreciate it, guys. Here's what the deal actually contains from what I can find. Iran ceases all military operations against ships, Gulf partners, U.S. military, and then the U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports lifts in parallel, like it just lifted essentially a few hours ago. Iran agrees to clear the mines it deployed in the Strait of Hormuz, but they'll have help. They're going to need help. They don't have the technology to find all of these mines. And
imagine if US goes to Iran and says, clear those mines. You know where the mines are, right? And the guy is like, I wasn't here before. The guy that laid out mine died by our missile strike. Like, oh no. Mines are like certain diseases, let's just say, that never goes away. Even in Europe right now, World War II mines are getting dug out. I mean, a mine can hide here and there. Like, obviously, US has done this in the past, decades ago, right? With the help of a lot of, like countries that were also involved. They did clear out mine. But can you do that now with the slightly modernish mines? I don't know. I mean, this must be easier, this mine. But what about all those mines that hides and sits on the ground? Like, that's scary.
Their military is in complete disarray. Washington releases $25 billion of frozen Iranian assets. Oil sanctions are waived. Iran agrees to halt all uranium enrichment pending a final nuclear agreement. And the U.S. and Iran will negotiate during a 60-day window over the disposition of Iran's remaining highly enriched uranium, whether it gets removed from the country.
See, again, this is one of like, you're going to release a lot of money, frozen assets and all that, and now there is nothing really finalized. You have 60 days. What if Iran never wants to give out uranium, and this is just another tactic? They're like, at least we get 60 days, at least we get our money back, and we can do something with it. I don't know.
Destroyed or diluted domestically? That question is still unresolved, and it's the one that could collapse the entire framework if Iran's not careful. But for now, the shooting has stopped, and now there is a window for peace, for the world economies to take the governor off and throw the gas pedal down. President Trump posted on Truth Social that the ships are moving, as we just covered. The Southern Highway is what's being focused on right now. VP J.D. Vance confirmed on CNBC that the U.S. expects the waterway to open toll-free long-term. So That's great. Toll-free, long-term, and you got to trust but verify with these guys. These mullahs, these little factions of the IRGC, they're going to do nefarious things behind the scenes, right? They're not just going to stop now that an agreement is signed. So I really hope a massive part of this deal is trust but verify. Yeah, we trust you're not going to do tolls. Yeah, we trust you're not going to build 20,000 ballistic missiles, but we're just going to verify that. So America won. And we're seeing in Iran right now, there's actually pro-extreme regime people that are protesting against what Agarachi and Pezeshkian did. And they're actually calling for the removal of these Western-facing.
What are you talking about? Didn't Qataris go to the supreme leader and got him to agree? It's not those other guys did it, it's the supreme leader. So are these people protesting supreme leader? Can you even do that? Anyone else like, president and all that, fine. Can you really protest supreme leader? I don't know. This is weird.
Leaders from Iran. So I think it's pretty clear to the free people of Iran that their mullahs just got in a fist fight with Uncle Sam and didn't exactly walk away standing. They got in a UFC fight, that Freedom 250 UFC fight at the White House. What an awesome event. If you look at it right here, I mean, it's just incredible seeing all the people.
Have you seen it? Have you seen the UFC fight? Mythical creature Ilya. Yeah. I always knew that was an overblown thing. Apparently I was right. And Alex is moving up weight class. Yeah, heavyweight is easy, right? I mean, heavyweight is always easy, right? Clearly not. This proved it.
People there, all the service members, and then the flyover with the Blue Angels and the Thunderbird. Just an epic flyover, seeing that take place. So congratulations to everyone involved in that event. What an epic day for America. But the deal being signed doesn't mean the oil starts flowing right away. Between the signing ceremony in Geneva and the first super tankers transiting at full commercial speed through the northern and central routes, there's a mission that has to happen first. And it's unlike anything the U.S. Navy has attempted in decades. Because remember, Iran spent 40 years bullying the Strait of Hormuz, and now the U.S. Navy has to step in and demine their nefarious activities and basically hand them the receipt. Here's the mission that no one else is talking about. So Iran is said to have laid between 1,000 and 3,000 mines in the Strait of Hormuz and the approaches to the Gulf between March and June of this year. The primary weapon that they have used is a Sadaf-02, a contact mine that is tethered to the seabed, floating just below the surface, invisible to satellite imagery, waiting to detonate when a hull makes contact. But the Sadaf-02 is the simple one. Iran also deployed influence mines, bottom mines that sit passively on the seafloor and trigger from a magnetic signature, acoustic signature, or pressure wave of a passing ship. No anchor cable to cut, no visual signature, just a ship-shaped electromagnetic field passing.
I'm guessing this is just a stock footage because these things pointing out, these are literally pressure plates that exploded. The one that watches for the signature of different thing looks different than that.
Overhead, and then the mine goes up, and then boom, a detonation. Those are the ones that end super tankers and geopolitical frameworks simultaneously. We don't want these hitting super tankers and ruining this entire framework of the deal. And the U.S. military's answer to this problem is a 2-drone vertical kill chain. One platform works above the water, one works below it, and together they can cover every layer of the mine threat that no single platform can handle alone. So let's start with what's above the water. You guys know me. I like to talk about what's in the sky first. You guys know the MQ-9 Reaper. That's the combat drone that's delivered precision strikes on terrorist leaders across the Middle East for 2 decades. The SeaGuardian is the maritime variant of that same legendary platform, and most people have absolutely no idea it exists or what it can do over the water. Here's the specs of what it can do. It can remain airborne for up to 40 hours continuously, meaning one SeaGuardian can orbit the entire 21-mile width of the Strait of Hormuz without landing for almost 2 full days. That's amazing capability. The SeaGuardian's airborne mine countermeasure capability gives it the ability to detect floating contact mines and near-surface moored threats from altitude across massive swaths of ocean simultaneously, with a mission radius of over 1,200 nautical miles. No crew, no fatigue, no risk to human life, just a persistent wide area eye in the sky, building a continuous picture of the surface mine threat layer while staying well outside the lethal radius of anything below. And then RQ-4 Global Hawk are said to be able to use radar to detect mines as well. You team these two platforms up together and you just got a massive capability. But here's the problem that those airborne drones can't solve. It can't see through the water, so it needs something underneath it to help corroborate where some of the undersea mines are. The influence mines that are sitting on the Gulf floor buried in sediment.
You need LCS, right? Littoral ships for this.
Generating zero acoustic or visual signature until that ship's magnetic field passes. These are completely invisible from altitude, so that's where the Knifefish takes over. The Knifefish UUV, built by General Dynamics Mission Systems through Bluefin Robotics. 21 feet long, torpedo shaped, completely autonomous, and it does something no other platform in the fleet can do at scale. It finds mines buried in the seafloor, not floating, not tethered.
Okay, is this even like operational, or is this just like one of those lamprey type of things? I feel like US military would use something like LCS and like other, like Poseidon, right? Poseidon plane and like conventional things that they have to find more like, complex things. Like there's a lot of equipments that USA can use, but do they actually have it active? That's what I'm asking.
Actually buried under sediment on the bottom of the Gulf. Wild capability here. It does this using low-frequency broadband synthetic aperture sonar built directly into the body of the vehicle, not towed behind it, not requiring a helicopter or a surface ship in the minefield. The Knifefish drives itself into the threat area while the mothership stays at a safe standoff distance outside the minefield boundary. Just massive. The sonar on the Knifefish sends an acoustic ping forward, analyzes the return signal, and builds a detection picture of the seafloor, classifying mine-like objects by shape, size, and position. The data is downloaded via Iridium communications and transmitted back for an operator view. No sailors in the minefield, no divers near the ordnance, just a robotic submarine doing the most dangerous job in the US Navy right now, so a human doesn't have to. And the kill chain looks like this. SeaGuardian covers the surface from altitude, fast, wide area surveillance. The SeaGuardian hands off surface detections to the MH-60S Seahawk helicopters equipped with airborne laser mine detection systems and the airborne mine neutralization system, which drops expendable destruction vehicles on the surface contacts. The Knifefish hands its bottom detections to EOD, explosive ordnance disposal operators, you're welcome for the acronym, who deploy a Barracuda neutralizer or a shaped charge robot to destroy them. The mothership, an Avenger-class minesweeper, coordinates the whole picture from outside the threat envelope. This is just wild technology. And that brings us to the global roundup section, and you won't believe this. Russia burned a 1,000-year-old cathedral. On the same night of the Iran peace deal being signed, Russia launched one of its biggest attacks yet on Kyiv. 70 missiles, 611 drones hit Ukraine overnight into June 15th. At least 11 people were killed across the country. 140,000 households in Kyiv lost power. And a Russian missile struck the Dormashan Cathedral of the Kyiv Pershk Lavra, an 11th century UNESCO World Heritage monastery complex, one of the most sacred sites in Orthodox Christianity. The spiritual
Russia is Orthodox. Even religion is not gonna make them pissed off. Nobody's gonna say like I was okay with everything, but you just destroyed our best structure. Kyiv is one of the oldest Russian city. Russia extended to Ukraine way long ago, right? So obviously it makes sense. Very old structure there, Orthodox, like cathedral. That Russia just like obviously like that probably wasn't the target, like missile just misfired or something. But like people are okay with it in Russia, all right.
Part of the Ukrainian church. The roof caught on fire, and this is just Russia showing that they are getting more and more desperate. You can expect some more Russia coverage from me coming up here soon. And that brings us to the 40 chest strategic.
Now it's going to be Russia covered because Iran thing is over, right? There's still Cuba thing that happens, right? Like Cuba, Venezuela, drug cartel thing is also going on. So there are drug cartels and Russia-Ukraine thing. And Iran thing is stopped. Let's hope. That shy was because I just realized Israel is still there. And Israel is not part of the deal as far as I remember. So how long is it going to take before Israel is like, nope, and attacks Iran again? That's what the shy was.
Analysis section, my friends. So the U.S. has won this war. They've brought Iran to its knees, and Iran has basically agreed to every part of the framework that the U.S. put in front of it. There was no uncertainty in Iran's mind. If they didn't sign now, they're basically going to be obliterated. But here's the dynamic that no one is talking about. This mine-clearing operation is going to take a while. So we're seeing ships transit through the southern highway in the Strait of Hormuz, not through the actual minefield itself yet. And that's also a blow to Iran, because it's basically showing that, hey, the Strait of Hormuz can be opened through the southern highway, even though you mine certain parts of the Strait of Hormuz. So again, just that in itself, that's happening right now, that is knocking down Iran's credibility globally as well, and putting them in a position where they've been put on notice by Uncle Sam, where they now realize there's actually consequences to trying to extort an international waterway. This whole conflict, now with America putting a big line in the W column, has put every other nation on notice that there will be consequences if you act like Iran has acted. So this is a massive win for the US, and my hat's off. Huge congratulations to all the service members who were involved to get this leverage. Because remember, this deal would not have taken place without the US military's power and strength and resolute statement that Iran is no longer going to extort the world. So where do you think this goes from here? Love to hear what you have to say. Thanks so much for watching.
I mean, this goes nowhere, I guess. We have 60 days. There's going to be political discussion. I would be surprised if Iran agrees to give up uranium. They will have to do that, otherwise there is no deal. It's not like US is going to accept because if they accept that, what was the war for? That was the core element. You can't have nukes basically, so that's not going to happen, right? I don't know what happens next. I guess the deal is going to be made. I guess Iran. I mean, one of the real element is that top people are no longer there. It's completely new people, new supreme leader, new other top leaders. Maybe they don't have as much as incentive as the previous people, and they don't want to end up as the previous people. So maybe they'll figure out a way to save face and still give up nukes and agree to America's terms, and then just tell their people, yeah, we're gonna make money now. America's releasing funds, and we won't have any sanctions. We're gonna do a lot of business. We're gonna make money. I don't know. Let's hope war ends, and let's hope Israel doesn't attack. Because, yeah, Trump was getting angry at Netanyahu before all this happened. And, Netanyahu and, Israel is not part of the treaty. The Iran's proxies, Hezbollah and all that, is that part of the deal? I don't know. If Israel attacks them, would Iran just say, yeah, I don't care? Would they say that? Wouldn't Hezbollah get pissed off? Yeah, I'm your proxy. I'm doing what you want me to do. Now I'm the one who's getting bombed and you have the peace deal. I don't know what's going to happen, man. All right, there you go. I'll see you next time.